OG here, and we are going to talk about really the number one topic in all of football gaming by a long shot, which is FC26. As you know, the beta is out. Yes, I have a copy of it, but we aren't allowed to talk about it at all. Therefore, how can we have beta talk? Well, luckily, nobody's followed this rule, meaning there is a ton of leaks out there, a ton of footage. Not to mention, as I've said before, there's a ton of footage that EA Sports released themselves leading up to this in the trailers, because that's what everyone wanted. We didn't want all the cinematic nonsense with a bunch of words. We wanted actual game clips, and they delivered. They also invited a ton of content creators to play the game and have interviews with the developers, which they gave permission for them to talk about that, just not the beta. Therefore, at this point, it's kind of pointless, but I'm not going to talk about one thing from my experience playing this game. I don't need to. And yet you can still get a good snapshot with what to expect from the game. So we're going to go an interesting route here. We're going to review a couple of videos where react to, I guess you could say, where the content creators are speaking on the beta leaks, and I'm going to give you my take based on what I've seen. Right? Yeah, it's interesting because you could say, well, you played the beta, so you're just talking about what you experienced. No, I am not at all. If you do just a quick search across social media, you will see that literally it seems like nobody followed these rules not to talk about the beta. So everything's out there for me to discuss. Simply from the footage that I've seen, that's what I will be discussing, right? And this can help players who are on the fence about buying the game still, who just want to get an idea, like, is there changes? Maybe they had a terrible experience in FC25, as did a lot of us. How about the gameplay itself? Is it still very inconsistent, laggy? All these things can be answered just off of what we've seen. Are there still tackle backs? The skill moves, they simplified those. They talked about that as a new feature. What does that look like? All these things we have examples of, and we are going to break everything down. So, without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to go ahead and start with the reaction videos because they give you a good idea as to where the game is at, right? Now, the beta is not the final version. I'm sure you guys all know that. If you don't, there you go. I just told you. The beta is not the final version. So all these clips you're seeing, take them with a grain of salt. Now, will it be entirely different? Absolutely not, right? The core of the game will obviously be, what the beta derives from. They're not just going to, start from scratch and then we get the game and it's not the beta at all. But there will be significant changes to the point where I haven't had, participated in the beta one time. Right, so with all the footage you're seeing, I haven't participated one time where the game came and I was fully prepared from playing the beta, right? They always make some tweaks that change the game significantly. They might not even be like these huge detailed changes, but there's enough smaller tweaks and changes that you're not going to be fully prepared whether you got the beta or not. So remember that as you're watching all this footage, as you're hearing all these impressions from all the leaks that are out there, okay? However, I would say the best way to look at this is like if there's any extremes, right? If something's really good, they're going to keep it in, right? If it's something that's going to be universally liked and it's getting good feedback, they're going to keep it in. So if you see something like that, you can bank on it being in the game. If there's something that everybody can't stand, that's where it becomes tricky, because even though you would think it would be obvious, okay, like nobody likes this part of what everyone's seeing in these beta leaks, you would think, okay, they're automatically going to remove that. That's not the case. Sometimes it can be, and that's a good thing, but sometimes the final game comes out and this nonsense that you thought for sure they get rid of, it's in there and it's disappointing. So we're going to go over all of that. First reaction is from Spoony Pizza. Next one would be from, or will be from, Nick Runs the Foot Market, who actually went through all of the leaks in particular. I believe Spoony just gives his reaction, which I guess since EA Sports doesn't know what account they gave him the beta in, he's not really worried about them, punishing him or not giving it to him in the future. So we'll get, this is actually his live reaction from him playing the beta. So we will simply talk about what he discusses. It's that simple. And this happens every year. There's always going to be these content creators that do this type of thing. I'm not going to mess with it. There's no point. It is fun to have the beta and get invited to play. And at this time when the previous game's pretty dead, it's pretty much about preparing for the next iteration anyways, right? I will say I had the most fun at this time of the year. More fun than I have in any of the previous FCs or FIFAs, where at this point, for the past few years, that is because PSN tournaments are just a few years old. At this point, I'd be just playing those tournaments, racking up FC points, right? Not worrying about my team at all. You can use loans, you can use other players. But the cheating and all the nonsense in those PlayStation tournaments is on a whole other level. If there's one word of advice I would give to PlayStation Network and EA Sports, it's that those PSN tournaments can be huge, right? When you get to play for FC points, it's an awesome thing. But if you do not fix the cheating, the ability for players to kick you from the lobby, which makes you lose the game, right? And players will do that all the way through the championship. If you do not fix the issue where the host has way better responsiveness in the game than the away team, that's just a fact. Every single time, if you get into the game first, load in first, there's a 95+% chance you're going to win. You have to be really bad to lose. Now, did I win a lot of tournaments despite not being the host? Yes. But was it awful? Was it not enjoyable, not football? Yes. So hopefully PlayStation Network and EA Sports can get together and fix what they need to with the cheaters, with the responsiveness of that game. Maybe with FC26 focusing on that, that will be something that changes. But this year, because of that, and because of wanting to create more content, tournaments are a little boring. You have to wait between games and stuff. Because of all that, I kept playing FC25, and it was enjoyable. I created a team that I liked. When the gameplay was good, the game was fun. But the gameplay was terrible a lot of times, especially in Champs, which is, one of the most... It's a fun time to play. That's why it's such a popular time. Probably something that also drives, kind of the crappy gameplay. Who knows for sure, but that's just how it goes. Now, FC26, EA Sports has said they're going to address all that. Have they? Let's wait and see these clips. Have they addressed all the other issues, the tackle-backs, right? Kind of that lethargic feel, that slow motion feel to passes and shooting stuff. Did they fix that? The passing in particular, just from the footage that we've seen that they released, clearly has gotten a change. It's gotten what looks to be an upgrade. So, we will find out. Is it truly an upgrade? Let's dive in.
Ladies and gents, what's up and welcome back to the channel. So I somehow got my hands on the FC26 closed beta. Shh, EA, please don't ban me. Now, I can't actually show you any gameplay, NDA and all that, but I can talk about my first impressions after spending some solid hours on both the authentic and competitive gameplay modes. This is not a review, it's just my first initial impressions. So if you want to hear the raw, unfiltered thoughts of someone who's played way too much FIFA, eFootball and EAFC over the years, then stick around because I've got a lot to say. Let's dive right in. So the authentic mode is the slower paced, more realistic experience. EA's aiming for that broadcast style football sim feel here, and honestly the biggest change, the players feel alive this year. I'm not even exaggerating. No more statues just standing around. Players seem to move much more naturally and it's just more engaging. The whole off the ball motion, little stutters, checking runs, it looks and feels like a real football match when you zoom out to the broadcast cam. And here's what I love, especially about the authentic gameplay. The players feel weighty. You can see the foot planting, the shifting of momentum. Passing is crisp but not too robotic. Expect stray passes, especially under pressure. The shots felt really satisfying. I was actually using precision controls or the precision shooting, and it just added a proper skill gap that I was looking for. The balance between 1 versus 1 dribbling and defending felt spot on too. You're not just glued to the attacker or defender anymore. Some of the things that need work though, the heading is still not quite right. Crosses have less power than the headers sometimes, and that just feels and looks a little bit weird. But it has much improved. There are instances where I think, oh, the header looks just right in terms of the power that's being applied. So it's not as frequent as it was in the past. You know, I haven't had any like bullet headers from outside the penalty box going just yet. So, but I've only played this for a few hours, so I can't really comment much further. Players can feel a little bit sluggish when dribbling or sprinting, like they're dragging through mud sometimes on the authentic mode, and that's to be expected because sometimes you have to sacrifice that speed. So it does feel like it's a little bit sluggy at times. But I did see one instance of chaotic pinball physics during a player collision, but that was just on the one occasion. Overall, way better than EAFC 25's gameplay. I wasn't on the edge of my seat with this mode or this gameplay mode, but I did enjoy it, and that's saying a lot. I did really like the sort of simulation and realistic feel to the game. I just felt like it covered a lot of bases and was actually very impressed and surprised. Now I want to talk to you about the competitive side of things, the competitive gameplay mode. Now this one is for the fast.
So I want to touch base on this. Based on what we saw, obviously the authentic mode is totally unique, right? So that's good. That's what you want when you separate the modes. You don't want just some small changes that are barely noticeable. It is tremendously noticeable. You can tell that the passing is different, the weight of the players, the weight of the passes themselves. When they say authentic, they're trying to literally emulate everything in real football. And if you watch real football, you know it's not always end-to-end action, right? There's those times where teams are set up and a team is literally trying to figure out how to break their opponent down, in which case that's when non-football lovers can say football is very boring, right? However, if you love football and you know how it works, those are to be expected. So on the sticks, if you want that authentic experience, there's going to be those times when you're moving the ball side to side, right, trying to find holes. When you're pushing players around, trying to find openings, and there's that feeling out process. It's not just end-to-end like you get on the sticks typically, which is a simulation of a certain aspect of football, but then it stays in that action-packed sort of state the entire game. That's the competitive side, right? The biggest question is, would it work, right? And based on what we've seen so far, it absolutely works for both player career and the small little objectives and things you're trying to accomplish just as one player, as well as career mode, where you want it to be realistic. For instance, they have like the ability to use icons in the career mode. I never would use icons. The last career mode I played, they were just introducing icons into it, where they're like, oh, you can get real life icons to be part of your squad. But the thing is like, it's different from Ultimate Team. Ultimate Team, you put a team together full of your favorite legendary players, heroes, current superstars. Different from career mode, where you're trying to take a team from the bottom to the top. So you want it very realistic, right? When you're selecting different players, when you're training your youth academy and trying to find star players there, then it's the same thing on the pitch, right? There might be a game where you are, for instance, you got a lot of injuries, you got a heavy week of football, and you're just trying to escape without getting destroyed, right? 1 point will do you in each of your next 3 matches or 2 matches, whatever. So you're going to play very defensive, maybe Mourinho-esque with Chelsea parking the bus, trying to just get that result. And if you can happen to pull away a win and get the 3 points from a counterattack or something, great. But you're going for that 1 point. So clearly playing that way isn't going to be as fun if you're looking for action all the time. But if you're within the story itself, if you're immersed, then that's your goal in those games, is to play that defensive football and do it well, and to try to pull away a win. But definitely, whatever you do not lose. You need that beloved point, and if you can get 3, great. Like, those are the little aspects that you want that are realistic. And from what we've seen so far, this mode delivers on that. So obviously we have to see more and really dive in and see, like, over a prolonged period, does this get boring? For me, I feel like if you're immersed once again into the story, then this type of gameplay really feeds into and really completes the story, right? When you're talking about realistic football and everything's, trying to be true to life off the pitch, and you get on the pitch and have this more arcade-like game, and you're winning 10-0, 15-0, and you're scoring 7 goals a game or whatever. I'm exaggerating, but it takes away from that realistic experience, and you don't want to think I'm in a career mode. You want to act as if you're really managing a team and all the things involved with it that EA Sports add that helps you create that world. Okay, in which case it's also great to watch. The content on a great career mode, like I've said before, with a great content creator and an in-depth game, nothing beats it. So let's hear about the competitive side. This is what we'll be
FIFA
playing.
Veterans or EAFC Veterans now.
An Ultimate Team.
The competitive mode is all about pace, reflexes, and that sort of sweaty weekend league energy. The first impressions, the passing was insane. We're talking 20-yard rockets in 0.5 seconds. It was like literally flying around so fast. And it felt so fast, I was just like, I'm going to just rage quit and go back to authentic mode because it just seemed ridiculous. But as I gave it time, it started to click with me. And things I ended up loving was the dribbling at speed, felt buttery smooth. Wrong footing defenders was just like, it was just perfect, absolutely perfect. The skill moves were sharp and fluid, finally effective against the AI, and the manual through balls that I was using with right bumper was a massive W. That is something I really miss from eFootball, the fact that you can just hold a button and then start applying manual controls, and I was doing that with the through ball, and it just feels so good in EAFC 26. It just adds control and creativity. The goalkeepers have actually really impressed me in this year's edition. They made some great saves, but also some believable mistakes, which gives them that sort of human feeling. And the crazy part, even though it's more arcadey, I think I actually had more fun here than in the authentic mode. Yeah, I mean, I didn't expect that, to be honest. I thought I was going to be like fall in love with the authentic mode, but once you adapt to its fast pace, high reward football, and with the career mode that I was playing on, it's actually kind of addictive. So, Here's my take. If this version of EAFC 26 launches as is, then Konami and eFootball should be worried. The gameplay feels like a legit leap forward, especially in terms of movement, fluidity, and overall polish. And for the first time in years, I'm actually excited to play an EA football game again. This was going to be the first year I didn't pre-order, but after this closed beta, yes, I'm pre-ordering. It's risky, maybe, but for me, it's an £80 chance worth taking. Because, and I say it's a risk, because we know that the patches will come. We know the gameplay will change. So I'm praying that EA don't tinker with the gameplay too much, because in all honesty, I think the player base will actually really enjoy this. The competitive players are going to enjoy the competitive mode, which harks back to like FIFA 18, 19, I would say, in terms of the fluidity and speed. And those that want a realistic and authentic experience, this is the most realistic EA game we've seen to date. Because of the foot planting, because of the weight of the players, it just felt perfect. Anyway, that is it for
All right, guys. So that is about as good as you can get, right? With the review of what's been out there so far, right? So Spoonie is a eFootball guy, if I'm not mistaken, okay? And he hit the nail on the head. Sometimes you get these guys from these other games and they'll, I was interested to see where that one went, but he was locked in, okay? So the biggest thing is the realism, right? For those of you who love the eFootball with the aspect of like the weight of the players and the passing, which is my favorite part of eFootball, the most realistic part, and then they fall apart outside of that, okay? FC has gone that route, especially with the authentic mode, but way more so because the rest of the aspects, like defensively, it's manual, right? And it's realistic. But it's the same on the competitive side. Again, Spoonie talked about his experience in the beta, which you're actually not supposed to do, but he doesn't care. Like he said, how are they going to find which account he's on? They're not. I'm not going to mess with that. But just on the footage alone, even that realistic side of things on Authentic, it carries over in some aspects to competitive. It's not just completely different. There are enough differences where, yes, it's an entirely different game for sure. Like, you could release the Authentic gameplay as an entirely different football experience, and there's some players that would want that game in and game out, even against others online. And I may be one of those eventually. However, what he said on the competitive part is right. When you watch, you can see there's this element of passing sequences, which is another thing. Like when you add the weight of the players, weight of the passing, those passing sequences, when they come off in eFootball, they're magnificent. They've added that in FC, but with more speed, right? If you go watch the footage, you're going to get that eFootball-esque type of passing, which there's no doubt there was inspiration there, right? Because they know that footballers love that weight of the players, weight of the passing. They put a little more speed to that. So, for instance, like up, back, and throughs, give and goes that I love to play, now more than ever, those are viable and even dangerous in FC, whereas previously it was hard to get the realistic passing sequences going just with how the game was. That's why 4-2-1-3, spam through balls was a viable method, because that's what you were always trying to do. You can tell from the gameplay footage that that's not going to be the case anymore. And a couple reasons that people don't really touch on, but the AI defending and marking is much better. Now, I should just say and stress the marking part, because they don't really defend. Why? It's manual defending. It's a skill. Therefore, if you want to actually defend and tackle the ball, you have to switch to the player. But the AI will mark, and they mark much better. That is absolutely needed, because no matter how good of a defender you are, if your opponent's moving the ball around, the AI is not marking right, they're going to be able to spam those through balls. They're going to be able to find those openings on cutbacks and things like that, and you're going to get burned. Okay? So the AI marking, without a doubt, has improved, and so it sort of counterbalances that more swift but realistic passing. It has some weight to it. So I strongly suggest you go watch the gameplay footage that they put together, and obviously it's not your fault that other people are releasing the beta leaks. Go watch those too. You can see all of this, right? Again, I'm not talking one instance of anything I've experienced in the beta, because I can't, but I don't need to because of all the leaks out there. So check it out yourself. But Spoonie's absolutely correct. I too was leaning towards not playing FC. That's why I spent the year playing eFootball, playing UFL, but at the end of the day, even as bad of a game as FC25 is, I went back to that, because the most control is in FC. The most to do is in FC, right? All the silly things that haven't been addressed in the other games, even though there's some silly things like that in FC, they've come out and addressed them. I mean, you hear crickets with Konami, not one thing about eFootball being fixed. However, even though by default FC25, it's the best game. It's a terrible game, and so we were in a bad spot. And then comes the footage, and now, as you heard from Spoonie himself, the closed beta comes out, and even though I can't talk about it, he did, but I can tell you this, you've seen I haven't been streaming as much because I can't get off the beta. So that's a sign for you. I don't have to talk about it at all, but look how much I'm playing it. Usually these betas come out, you get bored real quick because it's just another instance of the game, but without all the rewards and playing for anything, and there's a lot less players on the beta. So you go right back to the older game and you realize like nothing's really changed, right? So clearly, just with the time spent, plus all the leaks, you can make your own judgment. However, I will say Spoonie's spot on. He was in a spot where he wasn't going to buy the game, and then he saw the stuff come out, got his attention, got invited to the beta, and in his words, he's more excited than ever, right? He can't wait to play. It's got a good throwback feel to it, but with the realism, and there's an authentic mode that's going to actually make the career modes and player career modes feel unique and feel more immersed in that sense. You're going to feel like it's an actual experience all the way through, not just off the pitches, the realistic stuff, then you get the arcade on the pitch stuff. No, it's all realistic now, right? Now, on the competitive side, you got to talk about the downside so far. Based on the footage we've seen, the simplified skill moves are added to more fluidity in those skill moves, which do make them, at times, based on the videos we've seen, overpowered. Hopefully they tweak that down, because otherwise you're going to get players like Mbappe, Vinny, and these guys, and you're going to have those skill spammers. Only problem is, in the past, the skill spammers had to put in time to actually learn the commands, which that in itself at least is a skill. It was annoying to face, it's not realistic, but at least it took some skill to learn, and you knew that. With this simplified flick the right stick and do all these moves, and with the fluidity of the skill moves now, right, which make it very hard to defend, if they don't tweak those down, you're going to have some rats that are absolutely trying to exploit that. Now, they have improved jockeying and stuff. You can see that from all the leaks, but they've also improved greatly the left stick dribbling, right? And so what I've noticed from the footage is that now more than ever, manually moving your players into passing lanes, into dribbling lanes, constantly switching between your team, adjusting them into the right movements, that now more than ever is important. So all these rats that were used to parking the bus in FC25 and then hoping that the opponent ran into that one of their AI defenders, those days are gone. If you rely on that, you will get smoked, and you see it in a lot of the footage. A lot of these players are used to defending like that, and they're just getting destroyed. You have to manually switch your players, block off these passing lanes, and then as soon as the player attacks a certain lane to dribble or pass, you have to switch to that defender and win the ball. And the key is having your players in the right spots, so when you switch to them, they're ready to just make the tackle. If you don't have them in the right spot, you're going to get burned all day long. Then, because of the quickness added to that realistic passing feel, right, you can get these sort of, if you guys remember, there's a lot of footage that reminds me of in FC25, the era of the one-time through balls. They said those were nerfed to the ground, okay? You see a ton of footage where those are not nerfed to the ground. In some cases, they're even more powerful. So that's going to be something they have to fix. However, just like in FC25, what you are seeing is that if you have a deeper line, it will help tremendously. If you're playing a higher line, you can get burnt with it. Deeper line will help, but nonetheless, they still are going to have to work on those and tweak them down. Remember what I said at the beginning. I've yet to play a beta or see footage, in this case, of a beta that was exactly like the final game. You think, oh, this is going to be how it is, and you do get a good feel, but the inner workings change a good amount, right? To the point where if you come and think you're fully prepared based on playing the beta, you're going to be shell-shocked. There's enough changes where it's like, oh, crap, that's different from the beta. That's different from the beta. So, overall, you can't be more excited for this iteration because there's way more improvements than we've seen in years and years, okay? However, with what we've seen, is it perfect? No. But it's not what some players who are just being dishonest, let's be real, who are saying, oh, same thing, different year, just like every year. No, it's not. They are 1,000% wrong. I put that on everything. This is not your average yearly FC release, okay? This is a brand new game in many ways. If you come in thinking this is just an FC25 with kits updated, like in previous years, you're wrong. You're going to have to really get used to a lot of things. I'm going to go ahead and plug myself here. Check out my previous video, okay? Well, you want to check out the starter list of potential starter players for FC26. Again, based on all the footage that I've seen, the leaks and stuff, and then they gave you the top players, their ratings changes. So check that out. But even before that, there was a video with settings to use in FC25 to prepare you for FC26. From camera to what play styles you want to look for that can help emulate the movement and the passing and all that, the defending even. All these things can help you get practice in on FC26 without playing it. So make sure you check that out, because you don't want to come in just totally behind the 8 ball, especially behind those players who played the beta. So that gives you the best chance to use FC25 to prepare right. Okay? So, now moving into the Nick Runs the Foot Market video. Shout out Sidizzy, by the way. Shout out Phil Mo. For those of you who don't know, we dove into clubs and then shut it down because I just didn't have the time to really play, and then the guys had a hard time getting things together when I was gone. But Sidizzy did a great job running that. We just couldn't get the surrounding cast to help him out. So shout outs to Dizzy back in the chat. Filmo, part of OGFC. Shout out to him. Hopefully this is helpful to you guys as well. So now we will go into the Nick Runs the Foot Market video, where he does not discuss the closed beta, as, believe it or not, he wasn't invited or didn't play it. He either hasn't been played or wasn't invited to play it, which it sounds like he wasn't. Go figure, right? He speaks up a lot against EA Sports. They probably made sure he didn't get it. I wonder if Inception didn't get it too. I wouldn't be surprised. So with that being said, though, he did do a compilation of all the leaks. And since he didn't get the beta, he's more loose-lipped about it, because you can get in trouble, especially if you're a big content creator, for breaking these rules. You know, you don't want to be someone doing that. So let's get into that. So first I'm going to go into Nick Runs the Foot Market. And I can't even spell it right, of course. Nick Runs the Foot Market. Goodness, guys, there we go. Beta leaks are crazy.
Hit it, kid.
So this is all going to be from... This is all going to be from leaks online on social media and whatnot. And it will give you an idea of where players are as far as what they think about the beta. Obviously, you've seen I've already sneak peeked it. As well as, you know, Nick's feedback, which is me and Sammy plays the game a lot. And then you guys can also get some sneak peeks into some of this stuff if you haven't seen it. So let's take a listen.
FC26, and honestly, there's clips everywhere. There's clips on Twitter, there's pictures.
We've already discussed that, so let's get into where he dives.
Our FC26, not everybody who is new is going to have transfer market access. So I don't know how you guys feel about that. If you're new to FC26, I think there's a bunch of things you're going to have to do. Like,
take note of this, guys.
Too, because they tried it on PC. You have to, like, I think you have to play squad battles, play rush. Oh my god, it's kind of annoying. So if you're making a new account, guys,
that's not exactly a leak, but if you're making a new account, be aware you're gonna have to do a few different things. For those of you who have FC25, don't worry about this. The process to get the transfer market will be sped up. But if you plan on doing 2 accounts or starting a brand new account, just be ready to do some work. You can look up the different, you know, objectives or whatever you have to do, or I'm sure we'll explain it in game, but you're gonna have to do some extra work to get the transfer market. I wanted to make sure you guys were aware of that.
You're gonna have to do this stuff, and then I think in the beta they have some examples. Like, I also pointed this out, like, these are not going to be the squad foundation cards that are there on release. However, I do like the card design of the squad foundation cards. I do think they do look good. You've got Davies, you've got Conor Gallagher, you've got Kalulu. So venturing out, explore different match types and evolve your gameplay as you venture into Ultimate Team. Play 3 rush matches. Oh boy. Play 7 Ultimate Team matches and then play 3 live events. I guess there's all this stuff. Market mastery, new beginnings. Your first step starts are here. Learn the fundamentals of Ultimate Team. I just can't wait to use gold cards again. I don't like, some people don't like the reset, but I feel like the reset is everything. Like, using those cards at the beginning of the year is so fun outside of FC25.
Again, we're not talking about the beta at all. This is Nick literally going into all the leaks. So plenty of people didn't care about the rules. And we're not yet in the leaks, but that's another important point that I always talk about, guys. The reset is important. Look at the trouble UFL has. Look at the trouble eFootball has. Constantly repeating the same player releases over and over and over and over. Right? And then you have all the players and you go, what next? And the team building part's essentially just gone. Or it's just not as fun because you've packed every player. And what are you going to do? Just keep getting an updated version? That's not fun. And UFL, everyone's already got maxed out teams. I don't even think they plan to be around. I think it's screaming money grab because their longevity plan is terrible. But FC's the only game that has it figured out. And it's easy for players to say, oh, you lose your Mbappe once you pack him. You lose your Hullet when you pack him. That's the point. Every year, it's like, who am I going to pack this year? Who's my marquee player I'm going to build around? What route am I going to go? What SBCs am I going to do? Am I going to hit the mark and do good? Am I going to waste my coins again on a player that I don't end up liking? Like, all these are strategic and lead to the excitement every year, and they keep the game fresh. Now, The best part is when the new iteration is a vast improvement. And obviously, based on just seeing the footage and how big of a disaster FC was, and even the games for the past few years, we know we're getting a great iteration in FC26. All these leaks, all these players talking about it, that's a given. And then you add to that you have a fresh new take, not the same old team you've already just used for a year straight. FC has the winning formula with that, guys. Even though, yes, in the back of your mind it may seem like, well, if I pack Mbappe, I should get to keep him, or I paid X amount of money for these players like eFootball. Well, one, you end up spending way more money because you're never satisfied and they keep improving players and you keep spinning, right? It's ridiculous amounts of money, but on top of that, it takes away the excitement of the game.
Because like roles and play styles. So hopefully EA did figure that out, because gold cards were horrible to use this year. This is a concept, but like graphically, that's what people are expecting. And then a bunch of new face scans. Like I don't know how many new face scans EA did, but it seems like they did the
More than
majority
ever.
of players like on this game.
More than
these
ever.
are updated career mode face. Kimmich. These are all.
I never care much about these because besides the cutscenes, you can't see the detail, let's be honest. The movement, everything, you could have blank faces but great realistic movement, and I'll be happy with that. But this is cool nonetheless, for career mode and stuff especially. But I'm just saying, this is just, side work. There's way more important stuff.
All new face scans.
Now at Boost Mobile, we're offering unlimited.
So we're going to skip through this once, of course, we get through the beloved ads. But yeah, the face scans and all that, that's just a sideshow. The movement, the passing, all that stuff matters.
Players at face scan. I saw that they were going to try to do this year is give players way more flexibility of where to use players positionally, which this was like the first year. If you think of FIFA all time, you think of moving players out of position and using players in weird spots.
Exactly.
And just going for the vibes, building your ultimate team. And last year it was like, dude, if you didn't have this position, you just couldn't use them. Especially with gold cards. If you look back and go at FC25 gold cards, most of the cards had one position, and that was it. So if this is true, yeah, you can pretty much use Palmer anywhere, which is nice. The top comment is might as well put him in.
So based on all of the leaks, that is 100% true. So back in the day, you would line up your team in a way that made sense for your chemistry. Okay, you wouldn't care even if you're in a 3-back, but you're not playing a 3-back. All right, and then you could change your whatever formation tactics you wanted within the game, and you could have up to 2, 3, whatever. Right, so you could have Salah starting at right wing, and then really you could play a 4-2-3-1 narrow and have Salah at cam, and he would do just fine there. You could have him at left back, and he would do just fine as long as your starting setup, okay. Your starting setup gave you full chem, then that player would not lose any stats, right? That was fun because you would still have to kind of manipulate your chemistry. Oh, France to France matchup. Oh, this La Liga player matches here and they're both French, but then I got a French Premier League player. Does that give me enough chem? And it was all about building with chem. So they wanted to simplify that and make it easier to team build without those connections. But the problem is that then they also took away the chance to move players out of position. Even if you change formations and tactics and stuff in game, your players, if out of position, will get a attribute hit, and most importantly, their movement suffers big time. They're out of position, so they don't have a player role plus or plus or whatever. They're just kind of standing there. Manually, you can dribble with them and do whatever, but the movement stinks. So now. And that wasn't it, obviously. On top of that, the position part, since you couldn't move players around in different positions, right, you were pretty limited to what you could play. No longer could you set up in the 3-5-2 but then play a 4-3-3. I'm just making this up. Now, you actually had to make sure that player in whatever setup you played fit that exact position. So it limited you greatly. Yeah, it opened up the ability to get full chem with your team building, but it limited you greatly with, your formations and how you line up in game. From the leaks we've seen, now they've added way more positions, right? You can't just play a player in any position like you could in the past, have the right chemistry, change the formation in game. You can't do that still, but each player has more options to play that are realistic to what they could potentially play in real football, okay? So that's a huge improvement. because it was annoying, especially if you had a player. The most annoying part is this: you had a player at right wing, you wanted them to play right mid, and they couldn't do it because their player roles took a hit and their movement was going to take a drastic hit. It's all this limiting nonsense, and that's super unrealistic, obviously, right? But there's still some limits, because then within, okay, now you have players that can play right wing, right mid, striker, that's cool. But guess what? Now you have to hope that they have the plus on like shadow striker or poacher or whatever it is. You see what I'm saying? So that's like the biggest thing. Now the positions, they'll have those, right? Instead of like Salah only being able to play right wing, not right mid, that's good. But it's not enough, because as I said before, most every position, right, all these players in these different areas, every player does some of those roles in real life throughout a game. A poacher, as well as a false 9, as well as a cam being a shadow striker, but also a classic 10, but also a playmaker. Like, throughout a game, these different things comes up, and players can do this. And they need to start getting more player ID focused and less restrictive, so they can like promote, oh, this player role and this play style, and you got to get this new player because he has the plus on shadow striker, and the other, this version of Theo Hernandez can't play fullback, so you got to get this version. The other ones can only play wingback or attack. That's nonsense. It's unrealistic. So luckily they added the positions, but that's still not good enough. They still need to go more realistic there. Okay.
Goal, but I'm here for this. This is like a huge W if this is true. I'm a huge fan of that. All right, let's pull this up. So these are ratings. Now, ratings in the beta, guys, don't mean that hit a kid.
Whoa, Boost Mobile has the new iPhone 16.
I'll go ahead and finish it for him. Yes, it doesn't mean their ratings doesn't mean that that's final, but they are always close. Sometimes right on, but always at least close. So again, I strongly suggest you check out my last video. My last two, like I said, you're going to want to check out ways that you can set up FC25 to emulate FC26 based on all the leaks and everything we've gotten. That way you can prepare, you're not shell-shocked. But also check out the starter team guide I provided, as well as all the stat changes for the top players. There's some major changes that you have to note. One of the biggest being Son. Always a great player to use, right? He'll obviously still have special cards that are going to be amazing and be super expensive. That cut inside finesse shot of his is something special, and guess what? 84 rated now, based on the leaks. But even if it's 84, we know that maybe it turns out being 85 or 86, or a lot of times the overall is correct, but what changes is the stats within that card are a little bit off. Now that's, again, they're at least going to be close. So with that being said, Son becomes almost a high-end starter team player now, as opposed to, at least with his gold card, as opposed to a marquee top pick for all around. Definitely you don't think of Son as a starter team type of player. Still going to be some price on that card. Some players do find him clunky, and now with even the lower rating, I think that he is, again, going to be someone that's attainable for like a more high-end starter team. But players like that, with those drastic player stat changes, that's what you're going to want to look for. Okay, we have some insane players that are on their decline, right? So if you don't know how it works, you'll see players go all the way up, and then they start to decrease as they get less playing time, as they're not as prominent on the pitch. We saw it with Ronaldo and Messi. I'll never forget when the peak came, and then all of a sudden the slow decline. You have a few years where they stayed the same in ratings, and then they slowly but surely went down, and now they're at barely, if not totally not usable. It's very sad to see. It's definitely an end of an era, but before long we'll see them just like Ibra and Cruz as icons. So let's get back into this.
Saved. Oh my, there's a whole team. I think that was Palmer. So let's analyze the gameplay. Let's watch the gameplay together. Let's see what we think. EA has said it's going to be way more responsive, way more fluid. Now, before we judge it, these are with gold players, guys. So these are not the 99s that we had. We all remember how slow this game was in the beginning, and creators that went to EA said that they felt like the players in the start, so the generic players they went to go use, were actually more responsive and faster than the 99s at the end of FC25. So let's see how this looks. I think that was Palmer. I think that's Mbappe. I mean, obviously Mbappe is going to be
Yeah,
super
based
goated,
on the
guys,
footage, Mbappe
right?
is still broken, and rightfully so.
Step over
He's
still
a
look
special
pretty
player.
good.
We're in the
Trickster shot
Mbappe
fake
era
looks
still.
broken. Skill moves just look super OP, and finesse shot, nice finish there. It seems, it honestly seems more like it looks more like it's like on an ice skating rink.
Yeah, so based on the footage, I can tell you that ice skating rink feel is not really there. Sometimes it can look like that, but that's when people are spamming these skill moves, especially with the ability to do them more simplified. That's, I'd say, their biggest thing they need to address. What you're seeing a lot in these leaks is players that are spamming. Now the skill moves are super fluid, okay? They're super fluid, and they're silky smooth, fluid, and they look amazing, and you can burn defenders with them, obviously, right? You can see that in all these leaks. But the issue is this, especially with the simplified ability to do them, it doesn't even take skill to learn them. Now, you no doubt are going to have rats spamming them, especially if they don't tone them down. They're going to have to be nerfed. Luckily, that's a very nerfable thing, and so I'm not worried about that ruining the game. But if they don't get the memo from the feedback from the closed beta, they no doubt early on will be nerfing these. Mark my words. There's some really cool stuff. But move-wise, I mean, skill moves you can see on these leaks. Some very cool stuff, very fluid. But they're going to be overpowered if they don't tone them down. And they should have never added that simplified move thing. They should have never added that in. It takes skill to learn moves, just like in real life. When you're trying to learn the more difficult move you're learning, the longer it takes for players, and some special players just have an arsenal of moves, but not every player does. So these moves shouldn't be something that every player can just do non-stop, okay? They made a big mistake there. Hopefully they correct that pretty quick. If not, it's not the end of the world, but it is a mistake.
It actually looks more like, I don't know the word for it, but it does feel like skilling is crazy. And I'll tell you this, I know that's Mbappe, but the gameplay does look pretty fast. I want to see how the AI looks here. So, like, does the whole team come and park the bus? It doesn't look that different. It actually doesn't look that different, but it is. So this guy says new FC26 bicycle kick animation. Let's see what this is all about. I think that is new. How is that getting saved?
Two
Oh
things.
my God, our keepers.
Two things from these leaks. Yes, one, there's a ton of animations, but more importantly than looking at the animations there, the goalkeepers, right, you can see from the leaks, are way better, but also not broken. It's a beautiful thing, I swear. I think EA Sports finally did the unthinkable and found a good balance for keepers where you can tell, like, there is without a doubt going to be meta keepers. Okay, not to mention we have evolutions coming for keepers and stuff. They're no doubt going to be meta keepers. Okay, the movement, everything you can tell, man. So that's huge. We've been waiting for keepers to be viable but not broken, and we've been waiting for them to have their own identity where it's not just like, oh, it doesn't matter what keeper you get, right? Each year you pick keepers based on random stupid stuff, but it's not like realistic goalie type, you know, their movement, their speed, all that. And in FC25, I feel like they made every goalie just overly fast, and coming out off your line, rushing out was the way to go. But that still wasn't realistic because you're just looking for speed then, right? So this year more than ever, you can see from the leaks, sometimes the parries, because they don't want them just players trying to milk low percentage shots just to get rebounds, the parries go like out wider in a not dangerous spot. They'll still go in dangerous spots sometimes, just not nearly as much. Sometimes that can look forced and unrealistic, but it's way better than having rats abuse just low percentage shots for the chance of scoring tap-ins. So they did good there, and actually sometimes the parries look way more realistic. It's kind of two extremes, but definitely a good change. And that's what I wanted you to notice from that bicycle kick, is that there was a time when keepers would do something goofy there and that would go in, but that was a realistic kind of extension, kick-looking, hockey type of save that you see from, you know, the more acrobatic moving keepers. So that is very cool, and you've seen a lot of that stuff in leaks. So I think this year more than ever is a very promising year for keepers, where you're seeing some incredible saves, but you're also seeing plenty of goals.
It's about to be insane. Okay, new FC26 celebrations. Oh, this is going to be sick. Okay, let's see this. All in one. Okay.
All my toxic guys out here,
It's
here
kind
you
of
go.
nice. Chill.
Remember any of these you want to do to the rats?
Bandmaster. Oh!
Oh, gosh.
Yo, we found the toxic one. Oh, my
Bandmaster.
God. If somebody scores that after a 30-yard Trivella, can you imagine? So, EA, they say they patch the Trivellas. And you go into your first game at FC26 and someone starts hitting the Bandmaster on you? Oh, my God, after a Trivella? Oh, it's going to be even more painful when you realize you can't refund the game. Okay, who me? I like that. That one's cold.
I'm not big on the celebrations. Maybe career mode to have fun with it a little.
With the camera, too. That's kind of cool. They're going to show another angle of that. That's kind of fire.
In UFL, they went this more
nice.
unrealistic,
I like
crazy route. They did this kind of goofy, like triple backflip, goofy type. But it does look cool, their camera angles and stuff.
Casual, chill.
These look a lot more realistic,
high
so
kick.
it's just something fun.
All right, that one's kind of mid. Let me see it again.
But in competitive play, everyone hates these, so let's see what we got to get used to seeing from the rats.
This is going to be, I think, the #1 most used one in pro clubs. 100%.
Yeah, for sure. Cabaret.
That one's good. Let me know your favorite celly here, guys. I personally... Oh, my goodness.
The Bandmaster's ridiculous.
If you're a man over 30 who makes
We
at least
found our
150 grand a
new
year and you're still embarrassed
Gritty.
to take your
We
shirt off
found
at
our
the
new
pool,
Gritty.
your #1 priority should.
Okay, FC26 closed beta. Ronaldo is still good.
Slow as molasses.
All right, so what can we analyze here? I mean, this is like the one frame passing, I guess.
That's a low driven, and guys, you can see from the passing, the one frame. Remember, they're talking about that quickness between players, like the sequences you can make from that ping, ping, bang, ping, 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 bang. Like it's, if you don't get my noises and what they're tied to, those are quick tiki-taka passes I'm emulating with my ping, 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 bang. I'm not trying to speak Asian or some type of Korean or anything. I'm just saying that's what I picture when I'm thinking about passing this year. That's how quick and responsive it looks. So far so good with them hitting the responsiveness. Even the shots going off lightning quick, tackles everything. You can see it just in the leaked videos. I mean, guys, this was an example of a low driven. I have no idea if I didn't see the aimer on or not. This guy, and you could turn that off so it doesn't show for sure. But say he had precision shooting on. He's on this breakaway. He's seeing the goalkeeper move, and then he picks his side. He shoots, and if he wants to go low, he presses the shoot button on the second time. If he wants to do a regular shot, just shoot and then shoot. If he wants to do a finesse, R1 shoot and then shoot button again. Right? If he wants to do a power shot, L1, R1 shoot and then the shoot button again. And every time it's either the shoot button or the shoot button 2 times while you're moving your aimer all the way until the foot strikes the ball. I mean, it's super dynamic. No more players trying to abuse the green time shots from the same angle every time to glitch the goalie out. That's gone. Okay, and if you use assisted shooting, trust me, these keepers are good. They will make a lot of saves where you're like, gosh, why did I use assisted? So I strongly suggest you get used to precision like I've been saying. And by the way, if you have aspirations of going to the top level, FC Pro events, anything, you have to use precision, just so you know.
So first time through balls still look really good.
Yes.
And I do feel like, I will say, I know people say that looks exactly like FC25. I actually think the shooting animation looks really nice.
There's big differences. You can tell the people who say it looks the same are crazy. Promise you it's not the same. If they're seeing the footage and saying that, they're just trying to say it. But those one-time through balls are still being seen everywhere. I really hope EA Sports notices that and takes it away. Because, guys, there's no skill in it. Okay? There's no skill in those one-time through balls constantly. Right? All they do is trigger a player to run, pass it a couple times, and then when that player gets to where they want them to go, they play it up to the striker, and they try to time it perfectly to where when they do the one-time through ball, the player goes running by the defenders, they're in on goal. Okay? It's a broken type of play that they need to get rid of. They got rid of it finally in FC25. For the most part, they did a lot better. You've seen it a lot less. It wasn't completely broken. But the biggest thing was like totally getting rid of it. And whoever leaked that it was totally gone from their previous experiences, Since then, either those people were lying to us, or since then EA Sports mistakenly did something that brought it back. They need to work on that. Otherwise, you're going to see all these quick passing sequences, and then everyone's going to end in play to the striker, one-time flick through ball. Play to the striker, one-time flick through ball. They need to work on that. And it doesn't have to be in the air either. It could be on the ground. You're seeing it. All these leaks are showing this stuff over and over.
Nice. Like, the way that strike is coming off is nice. It just looks good. I feel like that looks good. Okay. FC26 skills. Now, this is going to be some TikTok stuff right here, because this seems like super sped up right now.
It's not. That's the problem.
So McGeady cancel,
this is a
ball
little
roll, nothing
sped up.
different. I don't know what that move is. That's the new Elastico. That one's the new Elastico. That looks crazy. Wait, so you know what's crazy? You look at, like, he does the L1 here.
Guys, yeah, I don't know if you guys noticed that, but there's kind of this push Elastico. Like, the stuff that they did is super clean, okay? Super clean. The skill moves are great that they added. Some very realistic. They did this crazy, stupid pick it up and flick it around. One unrealistic one. Most of it's super realistic, like where you kind of do the Elastico, but you push it in front of you to give you more forward momentum. It's beautiful, man. Some of the stuff they added is beautiful, but the simplified ability to do the moves with just flicking your stick, or flicking your stick and holding L1, flicking your stick holding R1, that's the bad part. So you're taking all these super cool fluid skill moves, and people are going to abuse them to the point where you're going to have to nerf them, and now all that good work to add in these great skill moves is gone. Take away the simplified ability. One of my biggest challenges in game, okay, is to learn these different commands of these, especially these intricate skills. That's how it should be. That's the skill gap. Well, I want to do skills too. Well, then get better at learning them. Trust me, I suck at memorizing skills to do in game. I'll memorize them, practice them 100 times, get in game, and all the different things going on in my mind, you know, passing and moving and worrying about changing the players' positions defensively and offensively if I'm manually controlling my players, you know, all of it. And then I get the ball and it's like, I have to remember this, you know, L1, you know, slide your analog this way, that way, and another way, then let go and do this and that, and then kiss your mom on the cheek, and then boom, you do a skill move. Come on, man. And players will learn that, and guess what? It's annoying as hell, and there's rats that skill, and it's not realistic, but you can't lie that it took skill to learn the skills. Now with simplified right stick, how many rats do you think we're going to see doing this, especially when they got rid of a lot of their other tricks? Hopefully it's not enough to keep a lot of these rats around and they run off to eFootball or UFL to use Smart Assist or some glitches, but this is one thing that they're going to lick their chops over. So as you're watching these cool moves, remember they added a simplified way to do them, right stick flick, which you might think, oh, that's cool, I can do them easier. But they're going to end up being spammed to the point of being sick of these. So hopefully they get nerfed down before full release. But let's take a look and enjoy for now.
That move, and then how quickly you can do that move. Wow. Yo, where was that defender going, bro? Oh, my God. Okay, that's the new Elastico. Wow, that. And you know what, guys?
See that
based on
floaty
EA,
quickness?
like anything new they add is always so broken. So I expect that to just be filthy. That new Elastico is going to be insane.
Ding, 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 ding.
Does look like keepers respond really well to skill moves, which is good. Used to be able to just ball roll the goalkeeper in the past.
I hope you guys are noticing this. Goalkeepers. Not broken, but very, very responsive. Huge. That's needed.
Yeah, that is good.
Sound like
I mean,
he was
most of the
responding.
times in this clip that we saw, like a 1v1, the keepers like just responded really poorly, which is good. Like if you get to that point, you shouldn't be getting bailed out by your goalkeeper. And then this one, some gameplay from the FC26.
Real quick before he goes into this, you absolutely can dribble the keeper this year. There's plenty of leaks about it. Like, you know, some years they have the goalie automatically take it off your foot, which is super unrealistic, super annoying. Nope, you can absolutely dribble the goalie. If you just totally, you know, crap the bat or take a bad shot, the goalkeepers will react realistically. It'll be fair, but until you put that ball in the net, you know, you got a keeper there you got to beat. But when you do, it's rewarding, and you also can dribble them, and they are very possible to score on, right? I mean, you can see that in all these minis of clips.
Beta. All right, let's check this one out. Shot fake. Wait, what was that? What was that? He just cut it off. Did we just lag?
No, he had to cut out his
All
thing.
right, that's a normal move. It does. You know what I'll say?
How did Nick not realize it? He had to cut out his they have a watermark for all of us with the beta. They have a watermark that tells you, has like a code and in your PSN or whatever your ID, so they can kick you if you share footage. That's why it cut out the best part that he wanted to show us, but it's all right.
This though, in terms of attacking, there's way less AI defenders in the box. Way less.
What
Is
did
that
I
just
do?
me?
Sorry, guys.
I can't tell. Is this Rush? No, this isn't Rush, right? 1, 2, 3. No, that's not Rush. So, all right, but that is still the mechanic. This is what people have been doing for years. Go down the line, pass the ball across, and pass the ball across. That has been the main way to score goals in New Gen for like 5 years. So there's not really, it doesn't look like that attack is too different. I'm not saying that this goal wouldn't happen in any FIFA, because this does happen. I will say it's nice to see there's way less players in the box defensively.
And better
That's
marking.
actually good to see. Like, look at how his center mids are responding. They're not really running there, so that is good to see.
Yes, he scored there, right? Yes, it was similar to the cutback type of stuff that everyone hates. But the difference is, the reason why everyone hates it is because there's no marking. You have to mark the player running the end line, and then it's super hard to tackle them, and then they lay it across to an open player all the time, right? And then towards the end with the park your bus in FC25, that was helping a lot. But it wasn't realistic. It was just like you were playing into a crowd of players, and that was it. Now there's actually marking going on, but listen to me. You have to be ready to manually switch. This is where it's so tough defensively. You have to be ready to manually switch between your player marking the player running the end line, so he doesn't just cut inside and finesse it to the far post, but you also got to be ready to react to your defender and step in front of that attacker to win that ball. So it's very skill-based, but now more than ever, the marking is better. You can see it just in the video clips alone. You could see one video and be able to tell. When the marking's bad, you can see it. When the box is too crowded, you can see it. As Nick says, the box isn't crowded. The marking's there, meaning as long as the AI does their job marking, that gives you the ability to create a skill gap by properly switching to the right defenders at the right time to win a tackle. Because the AI will not tackle for you, right? We've seen that for sure.
And then let's see how the shot, they said they're working on finishing. Oh, it's nice. So that's a first-time strike. So I used to score a lot of goals with first-time strikes, and I haven't really scored like a ton of those at all.
It's been slow motion and crappy
so
the
that's
first time
actually nice
strikes.
to see that going in. And
That's
that's what we
clearly
got.
gone.
That's all I could find, really. That was like, at least just looked like it was going to be presentable gameplay. Let me know.
So a lot of stopping that you can watch through there. First was a more of an eFootball player giving you that review, Spoony Pizzas or whatever his name is, and you heard him. Very high marks for FC, okay? Then we got Nick Runs the Foot Market, who clearly is an FC player, but will not sugarcoat, okay? So you have an eFootball player, eFootball content creator that tells you, go get FC. He wasn't going to play, now he's playing and he loves it. He gave you his actual closed beta experience. And the game's only going to get better from there. It won't get worse. It'll get better. Like I said at the beginning of the video, you're going to have some amazing things that you love, and you better believe those will stay put and maybe even get enhanced, but they won't get worse. So that's huge. And then you have some terrible things you want to see removed. Let's say the simplified skill moves. And most likely it won't get removed. You would think if everyone hates it, of course they'll change it. However, that isn't always the case. So the biggest downsides from these leaks, I would say, is first time through balls. They need to get rid of that. Okay? They need to figure it out. They did decent with it, figuring it out in FC25. They'll come up with something for 26. So the first time through balls that everyone's going to spam. And then the skill moves that are super fluid and great, but you got to make them more skill-based. You can't just let players flick the right stick around and do all these sick moves, because everyone will spam them. And yes, they are very effective. So overall grade, based on all these leaks, not from me playing the beta. None of this is from my experience as I'm even playing in the background here, because obviously that's the biggest tell for me, right? Usually, like I said, you play the beta, you go back to the regular game because you get bored. It's like the same thing. You realize, no, this is, for the first time in years, an entirely different and way better iteration of the game based on all the leaks, right? EA Sports finally opened their doors to realistic trailers with real gameplay that we could dissect, inviting content creators out to interview developers and let them play and let them talk about it, but not the beta, which makes no sense, but whatever. So when you put all that together, you get an A. Okay? No, you did not hear that wrong. I said for the first time in years, the next iteration, FC26, gets an A on its grading based on what we've seen so far. Hopefully they tweak a few things. If not, it could potentially go down to a B+, right? Now we just gotta hope that they stay in this sweet spot and just fix the few things they need to fix and keep the rest, because we are in a great situation right now. As football gamers, we should be happy because it only pushes every football game. So even if you play eFootball and UFL and you're bumming because you don't want more players to leave, especially from UFL, you need more than one great football game. You need that competition. You need to keep development companies on their toes and ready to respond to the players and give them what they want. And if there's other good football games, guess what? They get scared because those players can leave, and so they keep giving you more and more to satisfy you so you don't leave to the competitors. So it's good for all of us when FC is in a good spot in all the football games, okay? So let's hope they stay in this general area. And for whatever reason, if you're an eFootball or UFL fan, I don't know what to tell you guys, but they're the Konami and Strikers, the development companies respectively, they suck. They suck. Terrible on announcements, terrible on hyping up the next iteration of the game. If you're eFootball, UFL is terrible with planning, with trying to remove glitches. eFootball, Konami's terrible at reading the player base and trying to stay true to their football game. They've totally just abandoned that for helping low-skill players, so they keep spending money, whether it's the defensive system, smart assist. I mean, by default, I would say FC25 is the best football game. I say by default because in eFootball, they're disqualified because it's mainly AI with smart assist, and UFL is disqualified because the main skills to win that game are glitches that aren't even supposed to be in the game. So FC25, with all the individual control, all the different modes, right, when those other two are lacking anything to do, lacking content, FC25 already takes the crown back. So now imagine a much better version of FC25 that, by the way, is almost like an FC26 Part 1, FC26 Part 2, because you have authentic gameplay and competitive, and yes, just by the leaks, they're very different and both very fun in their own ways. So I hope you're as excited as me. The beta is just not the same as the real game, so obviously I'm still licking my chops to get a hold of the next game, just like you guys, right? I wish we all could play the beta. I'm bumming about that because I am having a lot of fun, but I can't talk about the details. I can just tell you, look how much I'm playing this bad boy. In previous years, I would have tried it out, went back to the former FC and not touched the beta again, because it was the same thing, different kits. And they don't even update the kits for the beta either. They use the old kits. So that's how good the game is. And with that all being said, I'm going to get out of here and get back to training. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this was helpful for you all. It was good seeing a lot of you in the chat, and it was good seeing that a lot of you who are still listening to this are watching this video. So make sure you smash the like button if you're still here. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure I don't break my controller in the background. Make sure you check out the memberships for both YouTube so you can get extra early content, privileges, all the whole nine. But most importantly, check out my Discord, OGamester FC. The link is in the YouTube bio. It has everything you need to prepare and to dominate in FC26. No more FOMO. No more stress. Not feeling like you can't catch up. Having all these unanswered questions. Every mode. Everything you can think of, from transfers to buying the right players at the right time, selling the right players at the right time, stacking up on consumables to maximize your coins, what jersey, what kits to buy, what chemistry styles, all that to maximize your coins, right? Doing squad checks, making sure your tactics are as good as they can be to match your playstyle, the whole nine, everything you can think of, we cover it in my new Discord HQ for OGFC, a non-pro football club, and we want you to join. Only $2.99 a month. Again, check it out. And no matter what, I appreciate your support, and we'll see you next time. Peace!